How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel, and today we are doing a tier list of the agents I think you should be playing to rank up through this Valorant Act. What we're currently looking at the moment, hopefully factoring in the new patch as well. That's just come out today on the 7th, or came out on the 6th yesterday, whatever it was. But the new patch has come out 6.11. I'm focusing, as always, as what I think is going to be the best for you guys who are in the lower ranks, let's say, or what people class as the lower ranks, which is everything from diamond and below. And hopefully this will give you a good insight as to who I think you should be trying to main over the next month or so to help you get to that next rank that you're looking to do. Now, I just want to preface this with I had recorded this. I had done it, finished it. I was starting editing it. And then I saw a certain YouTube channel's video on who people should play, like the top 5 agents for this patch that's going to help you rank up. And I wanted to re-record this because, as I sort of mentioned in the last video, I don't like the some of the videos that's put out on YouTube because I think they're very generalized. I think they're focused too heavily on the top tier of play, and I just don't think they're helpful. And that video that I saw after making the first of this is exactly that, because they put in out of their five picks, and look, maybe this is just me being wrong, who knows, but I'm giving this from a low level perspective, and they're giving it from, I think, someone that's never touched the game. I think that they're wrong because 4 out of the 5 agents that they said were like the lowest rated agents that I gave. So I'm going to start with those. I'm not obviously going to say what the channel is, but I'm going to start with those ones. You might then be able to figure it out for yourself if you look at the dates and whatnot. But yeah, we'll get into it. We're going to start with the first one. They said they started with Gekko and said Gekko was, the most versatile and like the best initiator to use. Gekko's C tier. Gekko, in my eyes, is actually the worst initiator in the game. His molly is easy to dodge. The wind up time for the actual when it becomes lethal is way too long. It's very easy to dodge. Yes, it does full damage. Obviously, you can kill them if they get caught in it, but ultimately it takes way too long. It's not that good. Wingman for the plant and the defuse is fantastic. That part of the kit, brilliant. But it is still very easy to kill. So if it's going anywhere like Pearl Long on B, going behind that sort of double box where you can shoot through it, obviously that's quite an easy counter to it. But it's still very good, especially in those clutch situations, trying to defuse in like a 1 versus 1. Fantastic. However, then Wingman for the stun and effectively a little bit of intel, I suppose. Not that good. The stun's not good at all. It's very easy to avoid. You just basically just sidestep it if you're close to it, and you can even jump, I think, and avoid it as well, which is also the same as the flash, which is, in my eyes, the worst flash in the game. It can be shot very easily. It can be avoided by ducking behind cover. It can also be avoided. I mean, I know that's what most flashes can, but it also can be avoided whilst the projectile's coming towards you, because it's a projectile. You can jump and dodge it. Whether or not that's been patched now, I haven't seen anything about it, but it can be done. If you go and give it a quick Google search, YouTube, whatever or not, you'll be able to find people doing it. It's really, really actually quite easy to dodge. It's not a good ability. It sucks. His ult, obviously, it has some benefits. The actual ability to like lock people down, like the lockdown from Killjoy, is good. But if you don't have a good placement of where you are and where the enemy that you're attacking it with is, if it's like if you push it down long, if it's out in the open, if it's due to where the positioning could be from it, it's quite easy to kill. It hasn't got the biggest health pool ever. I understand why you wouldn't have it as a big health pool, because it would be effectively nigh on impossible to hit. But yeah, I just think for a low level player, if you want to play Initiator, there's so many other characters in this game, agents in this game that you can pick that will provide you value. Gekko just isn't the one. Moving on to the second agent that they had Harbour. Harbour's going to sit along with Gekko for pretty much the same reason. I think at a high level, Harbour is incredible. I really desperately want to, as a controller main or someone that plays controller initiator, controller and sentinel, but loves controller, I really want to start learning Harbour more, because I think I can use him to an okay level, but I would love to be able to actually start getting some value from him. And that's the crux of why I think he's here, because if you have not got hours put into him, you are not going to get the same value as if you pick up an Omen or you pick up a Brimstone. If you are someone that has to fill, or if you're someone that, maybe you've consistently been missing a controller on your team, so you decide, right, I'm gonna start mainly controller. I'm gonna start learning controllers now. If you want to start getting like actual effects and like input into your game from playing a controller, Brim and Omen are the people to go to. Harbour is not the one to go to. He still has his value. I think he is very good. He's exceptionally good in a double controller comp, but I think I can count on one hand how many double controller comps I've seen in my diamond lobbies. So I don't really expect there to be many more in anything lower. Yeah, he has his strengths, but at low ranks for the general population, which is pretty much everyone below diamond, he's just not the one. We're going to go to the one that I think from their side was insane to put as a top agent to climb with, and that's Yoru. Um, I don't know who decided that was a good idea. Yes, we all know them. There's those certain people that can play Yoru that are absolutely insane with him. Yeah, fantastic. He's a quality character. The way I look at duelists, I look at duelists in two separate camps. You've got entry heavy duelists, so that's Jett, Neon, and Raze, and then you've got those secondary entry, more like sort of the engagement duelists, which are Phoenix and Reyna. Yoru kind of fits both because his kit obviously has those abilities to take gunfights with a flash and with the fake clone, and his TP can obviously be used to sort of take a gunfight and back out. His TP can also be used to take some space, but he doesn't really excel at either one of those like the others do. Jett, Raze, and Neon are fantastic at taking space. Phoenix and Reyna are fantastic at taking gunfights. He's not really any of them. So why would you pick him over any of the other ones? I just don't think he fits perfectly in either of those roles. So I don't think he's a good fit. He doesn't excel at either. You might as well have one. And if you, in my eyes, if you're going to have one duelist, you have a movement duelist, because things like flashes and taking gunfights you can find from another role. But anyway, Yoru has got to be in D tier. I just don't see him being of value. I'm not gonna do the last one that I completely disagree with straight away, because I think that's like my hot take, I suppose. But I'm gonna go with the one that I kind of agree with, but I still wouldn't rate as highly. And that is Astra. For me, Astra is B, and I think it's almost a little bit of a continuation on Harbour, that I think, especially at the lower end of play, in iron, in bronze, in silver, you're not going to understand the best ways to use Astra if you're just picking her up. If you've played her a little bit, then of course, yeah, you're going to be fantastic with her, but that's the case kind of with everyone, right? If you're looking at someone to pick up now, to go, this is like the meta pick, this is what I should be playing to try and win those games. I'm not not crazy familiar with this person, but I want to pick them up to win. Astra's probably not the one. She really does have strengths. She's fantastic at being able to, control from across map. She doesn't have to be like right there like someone like a Brim does. She can be very versatile, unlike a Harbour or a Viper. She has abilities that can actually control plays, obviously, like the suck and the stun. Unlike Omen doesn't really have that. Brim obviously has his ult and his molly, but she has the same capacity as someone like a Viper would do. But I just think, to truly get value from a controller, you can find more value at what you're trying to do, and it be a bit easier for yourself if you pick other controllers on this list. So that's simply why she goes B. Now we're on to the final one that they put as the top 5, and this is my hot take, I suppose. It was Sage. Sage goes on D tier. Sage is the worst character in the game. I said it. I don't care if anyone wants to disagree with me. You're wrong. I will take criticisms on any of the other ones. Sage will always be D tier for me. Yes, she has a res. Obviously, no other character in the game really has that outside of KO and Phoenix for themselves, but she's the only one that can res other people. She has a heal. It's not the strongest heal in the game. She can only heal one person, maximum maybe 2 for a round if they stay alive. 2 slow orbs that are pretty good, but how many times do you have teammates that will throw a slow orb and then throw a slow orb straight on top? It doesn't like that. That's just not beneficial. Don't do it. Wait the 15 seconds, then throw enough on. I'm sick of seeing people do that. I'm sick of seeing people walling in a certain area and it just getting destroyed. That's a waste of 400 credits. The problem is that Sage walls, similar to like a Viper or like I said, like with Harbour, when talking about Astra and their versatility, there are certain maps, Split is a good example, where it's very easy to just counter that mid wall. You just say to your team, right, maybe one of us has got an Odin, or we've all got Phantoms. We'll stack mid at the beginning, spray down that wall, and then just go wherever we want. And then that way, that safety net of being able to rotate through mid safely with that wall, which is kind of why you pick it, is gone. It's done. Obviously, then you can do a deeper wall, maybe into vent or maybe into tower for the map of Split, but you're then banking on the plan that they go mid. If they don't, you've just wasted that wall anyway, and you've stopped your team from rotating through that position anyway. So why would you use it when you can use another ability that can slow momentum through mid? You could use another sentinel, like trips, or you can use a killjoy turret or mollies from Viper or Brim or something like that to just slow down pushes rather than using a wall that denies information and ultimately can just be destroyed really easy. And again, there's no versatility to it if you really want to get the most use out of it, that it's not going to get destroyed instantly. I understand it has its benefits maybe in post plants as well, but again, if you're doing it in the proximity of an enemy, it's just worthless. It's a worthless ability. I think she's severely overrated. She has one of the highest pick rates. I mean, I think it's this one here. We go pick rate. She's 50%, but I do believe that this is just the entire Act 3 over all game modes. So we have to kind of factor in pocket sages, which I would say probably make up 20% of that. And pocket saging, okay, do it with Skye. I think better option. But anyway, that's Sage. D tier, genuinely the worst agent in the game. I don't like it. I really, really just don't want to see Sage in my games anymore. Please, for the love of God, no more Sage. No more Sage. Right, let's get on to the other agents then. So, Breach for climbing. I'm also assuming in all of this as well that you're not playing in a 5 stack, and because of that, Breach is going to go B. His abilities are fantastic. He is so oppressive to play against. He is horrendous to play as if you are a solo player or potentially a duo player that doesn't have someone aggressive to play off of it. I think if you're in a 5 stack, this dude's S+. 5 stack, he's here. Not 5 stack, he's got to be B. His abilities are great, but ultimately, if you're not playing with someone that can really like make the most of it, I think pairing it with an entry duelist like Jett and Neon and Raze, who can like take space off a fault line and really get into people's faces, is fantastic. But you're very reliant, and I think going back to some of the tips that I made in the last video, if you haven't checked it out, go check it out. Being able to focus on yourself and focus on how you're doing it, and that's how I'd look at any of this climbing stuff. You need to be consistent yourself before looking at anything else. You can't be relying on other people to make the plays for you, and he is so heavily reliant on plays for other people. But I guess the whole initiator role is, but I still think there's other ways around that, and I think there's better options for you. Brimstone, Daddy Brimmy with a stimmy, goes S+. Single best controller at the moment. He has the best smokes. They last for longer than anyone else's. His stim beacon, I think, gets slept on at the moment. They obviously it was a huge thing when they had to nerf it, and I just don't think anyone's talked about it since. It's an insane ability. If you watch a Brimstone buy a Stinger and then drop a stim beacon, that thing shoots better than a Vandal does. Mental. It's an insane ability. And then to top it off, he's got a really good molly for like post plants or denying pushes or denying areas. Really, really good. And then his ult can literally get you kills. I think, again, in lower levels of play, kills are very, very important. So if you have an ultimate ability that can get you kills, and I don't just mean like a breach ult can set you up an easy kill. I'm talking like it can actually kill people. It's a such a good positive for him. And I do just think you're really not going to find that many reasons to not pick him over someone else. And just to back this point up as well, and I know that I'm going to contradict myself with some of this stuff, especially because that win rate for Sage is ridiculous. But if we go top win rate, it's Brimstone. He is just the best at the moment. But anyway, moving on, Chamber. I am really, really hopeful that this new patch is gonna bring him back to here. I know not a lot of people want to say that, but I think he's at beta at the moment. I love Chamber. I absolutely loved Chamber meta. Don't care. It was fantastic. Anyone that disagrees, that's fine. You just got to get better. No. In all fairness, I understand why people didn't like Chamber. I like that the changes to his trip are making him more like an actual sentinel, where he can put the trip down, cover an area, and then cover somewhere else with himself. Because I think that is what the sentinel role should be. We'll just have to wait and see where we go. I haven't played enough of this new patch to start comfortably saying he's improved, but I would have said that he would have been B tier last patch, and he's made improvements in the B tier. He's moving his way up in the B tier. Cypher, A tier, can single-handedly hold a site himself when needs be, especially on certain sites. Really oppressive to try and run through like trips, especially if they've got a Cypher that knows what he's doing. But he's also the single best character in the game for watching flanks on attack. Whether you're playing a Chamber or you're playing a Killjoy to try and have some utility to watch flanks, there is nothing that can compare to what Cypher can do with two trips and a camera. It is just the best way to make sure that you're not getting flanked on attack or on defense as well. But just make sure you're really covering your behind effectively. The cages are fantastic, can be used for obviously effectively like pseudo smokes to block lines of sight. They also get you a bit of intel as well. They're fantastic. The trips, as I've sort of said, are great as well. Gives you sort of free wall hacks as well in certain areas. The ult is his weakest part, but that's mad to say. Like, it's not. We're not saying, oh, his ult's really weak and it's the weakest part because all the other bits are bad. We're saying that's the weakest part because the rest of his kit is extraordinarily powerful. So yeah, Cypher's on A tier. He's not the highest Sentinel, shock horror, but he's definitely a good pick. Fade is going to go B. The only reason that I think that is because she doesn't, in a similar vein almost to like Harbour and Gekko, there's someone that does her role just a lot better. When Fade first came out, in the first few patches before when she came out, I thought that Fade had replaced Sova and she was going to be the next best thing. The dogs are extraordinarily powerful. The C's situationally can be very powerful. The haunt, the eye, that's the one that I think has the biggest issue. It's so slow, doesn't travel very far, and because of that, you are so heavily reliant on either the teams just being idiots, timing, or lineups. If it's not one of those three, it's probably not getting a lot of value from it. So she's not incredibly, ease of use, let's say. And also looking at it again from a lower player perspective, I think her ult is extraordinarily misused. I think one of Fade's biggest values of the ult is actually the deafen. Just looking at the sort of variety of ults you have in the game that have sound cues that effectively allow you to play off of it. Omen ult, when you hear an Omen ult, right, okay, he's ulting someone, let's have a look. Raze, you hear a Raze ult, you're going. As soon as Fade does this, you can't hear anything. One of my favourite combos with ult with Fade and her ult is on Ascent on B, I think, with Boathouse. So you ult site and then you Omen ult into Boathouse. People that have been deafened, they're not going to know that there's an Omen. They're probably still going to be watching lane. They're not going to check behind them if they're sitting in there, or if they're on site, they're not going to check it. They're just going to be watching lane and stairs, and then suddenly there's an Omen behind them and you've dropped 3k. Honestly, it's such an easy play. Especially with those ults where there is the way that people counter them is reliant on them knowing that the ult's gone off, and they know it because they hear it. And I also think as well, the dogs, a lot of people just free use the dogs just straight away. Like, round starts, both dogs gone. If you've got ult, you need to be keeping them because they just become like homing beacons. or like if you get a tag with the eye as well, just using that. And again, I think for a lower play, the C's is a bit situational. It's okay. It's just okay. Jett S plus. Best entry duelist in the game. Best duelist for defense. There's not much more to say. She is the best, if not joint best agent for opping in the game, which is obviously a huge thing. I think ops are undervalued at low ranks in certain games. I know, having played with a few people, that they, having played with duelist mains at low ranks, there are plenty of people that don't value the op where they really really should. And obviously Jett allows you to use that gun and sort of get away with things with it. There is probably no better or safer like space gaining ability or combo than a cloud burst and a dash. And it allows you to get info off of that as well. You can stay a bit safe, take a gunfire after it. There's just so many values to her. I think that there is a entry duelist that comes very close, but ultimately what she can do on both attack and defense is just nothing. And also then her ult, you can get kills with it. Yes, you got to click. You got to be able to click on people, but you can still do some good stuff with it. KO. KO's another one, similar to Sahaba, where at high level play, I would have him so much higher up. I think the beauty of Valorant being made by a company that has a history in MOBAs is that they understand how characters can be made to counter certain other characters, and KO is the counter. The more that we get people like Chamber, the more that we get people, maybe like Cypher as well, and Killjoy, Jett to an extent, people that are going to have like those weapons for abilities roles, KO starts to become exponentially more important because he stops them from doing what they are worth. And if you're not using abilities in this game, as I said in my tip video, you're trolling, you might as well just play another game. So he's very useful, but, and the big but with that is that as an intel gatherer, there's obviously people that do it better than him. And then as a flash agent, since the pop flashes have been nerfed, it just doesn't feel as good. I think it's a lot easier to try and it's a lot easier to get sort of the half flash off of him and then just swing him straight away. And yeah, if it wasn't maybe for the nerfs, he might be up here. But I just don't think he gets his biggest value, and I don't think he's the best option if you're looking to play Initiator at the moment. Killjoy, best Sentinel in the game. Hands down. If you're someone that's playing this, drop, pick. Killjoy is the single best agent in the game for holding down a site. There is nothing that's more oppressive than running into an alarm bot and 2 nanos. There is nothing more impressive than running into a lockdown. And then the minute you want to try and do a little sneaky flank and you run into a turret that's going to not only spot you, but then also take shots at you, and you're going to take a little bit of damage. It's just so oppressive. Obviously, she doesn't have the flank watch capabilities that Cypher does, where he can just leave it and go and it doesn't matter. She still has to stay in proximity to it. But obviously what she lacks in that department, she makes up for in the nanobots, and she makes up for in the better role. So genuinely just the best Sentinel in the game. If you are a Sentinel main, if you are someone who likes defensive plays or flank watches normally for your team, just pick up Killjoy. Your wins will start skyrocketing. I have literally mained Killjoy this act. I have like a 80% win rate on bind with Killjoy. It's mad. It is mental. And maps as well, where before I've been horrendous with. Now playing Killjoy, I've been so good on just because my defense is insanely strong with her, and because she's just insanely strong on every map. It genuinely doesn't matter. Every map, pick her. Neon, B tier. She is a much better pick than Yoru in my eyes, but in terms of an entry duelist, she is the worst of the three. Yes, there is definitely the Adderall loving Zuma you know, teams that will get the value out of her because they see everything at the speed of light and can move their fingers correctly. But I'm a boomer and I can't do that. But also more so to the point, I just think there's people that do her job a little bit better. You know, the wall's great, but it can be done by a smoke operator if not. The stuns are very good. But again, potentially you can do that with smokes, you can do that with mollies, you can do that with other abilities to try and clear out areas and make it difficult for people to sit on specific points. You know, ultimately her ult is a very big win for her, but I also do think it's very easy to just shut down an ult, especially if you come into someone that's either got a shotgun or if someone has got good crosshair placement and is able to get those fast shots off on you. It's lights out for you. Obviously, the buff to her ult doing more damage to headshot is really good. But again, looking at lower play, is your crosshair placement going to be fantastic? And are you going to get it that whilst also zooming around the map? Probably not. Omen, A tier. He is an exceptionally good controller. He is definitely not as good as Brim. I think the problem with Omen is that a lot of people will pick him up who are, there'll be people that probably have to fill that see flashy sort of aggressive Omen plays and think that's how I should play it and then play it wrong. I think if you look at Omen as just being a controller that can occasionally make those, you know, those TP plays, those blind and TP plays or whatever the paranoia and shroud step plays. If you want to do that occasionally, then yeah, sure. But I think there's too many people that focus solely on that, and ultimately, the amount of times you just catch people out doing stupid TPs that just don't get anywhere. Or you have the flip side of it that people don't use those abilities, and then, you know, you're playing an agent that you're not using half of his kit. Basically, what's the point? So I think he's definitely good. There's not like a huge bad point from him. I just think in terms of what's going to get you value, what's going to help your team, what's going to help you do your role to the best of your ability, I do just think Brim is a little bit better. But yeah, ultimately that doesn't mean he's still a bad pick. I think as well, if you're able to communicate with your team to use the paranoia to good effect, it can be really, really oppressive. But again, at low ranks, especially if you're playing with randoms, there's not a lot of communication going on there, and I just don't think you're going to get the most value from it. Phoenix. This will actually be a hot take as well. Phoenix is one of the most underrated characters in the game for ranked play. At high level, well, at lower ranked play, at high level, maybe actually even at high level ranked, I think he could still be valuable. But in 5 stacks, in competitive, you know, in top tier Valorant, yes, he is bad. He is bad. But at lower level play, in ranked, he is fantastic. He is severely self-sufficient. He's severely underrated. He's massively self-sufficient. You know, I'll tell you what, we'll do a little comparison between him and Reyna. And I'll tell you where Reyna's going to go in a minute. You know, Reyna has a blind or has a near sight, which can be shot out by one person, and with the travel time, I know obviously they buffed it, but it's still pretty obvious when it's coming or where it's coming. The Phoenix Flash, when timed correctly, can be nigh on unstoppable, especially if you know how to play around flash zones and like kill spots. You will become unstoppable. You will get free kills left, right, and center. And again, as I said earlier, in low rank play, when kills are so important, if you can get yourself a kill, 2 kills around, that might be enough to get you on a consistent streak to go up to the next rank or go up to 2 ranks, right? He can take those flashes. The flashes are fantastic. They are very, very good. Obviously, they're not helpful for other people, but I'm talking about being self-sufficient here. He can heal himself. If he doesn't want to heal himself, he can use that as a molly to deny area, to maybe stop plants or anything like that. Obviously, it's not the best molly in the game, but it will still do enough damage to put people off. He has a wall similar to Neon. Obviously, it can be used in that way. You know, it can be helpful to be a bit self-sufficient in that push to deny those line of sights and make it a little bit more, you know, make enemies question where or where not they've gone. But also, again, that can also heal them. And then his ult is a free life. It's like having 6 people, 6 versus 5. Okay, like, do I have to say anything more? Playing numbers in this game is incredible. So if you run out and just say to your team, look, I'm ulting, we're going to go for this fight, we're going to play aggressive, bait me if you want, I might get a kill. If I get a kill and then I die, but then my team also get the trade, oh, look at that. We're in a 5 versus 3 and we got 2 kills and they got 1. It's it is so severely underrated. I think a lot of people want to trash Phoenix. They really, really should stop playing him. I genuinely believe. I know it's a hot take, but I think he's just one of the most underrated characters in the game at the moment. Ultimately, obviously, he isn't an entry agent like Jett is. But if you're looking to take that sort of second entry, as I'd call it, Phoenix has got to be the choice. Honestly, best one. Raze, A tier. She is fantastic. Obviously, she's got an ult that can get a kill, does a huge amount of damage. The nade is probably, it actually might be one of the best, probably one of the best mollies in the game, especially for trying to deny area because people just run. Like, they do not want to get involved in that. Boombox can obviously get you a lot of intel. That's really, really useful. But then the satchels are fantastic for taking a lot of space. I think you'll see a lot of people using them in quite unique ways to peek themselves around corners, to potentially even get people into bad positions, or putting them off of their gunfights, so they might spray a little bit. They can be used a lot. I don't think at lower rank they're going to be used as effectively. I think people don't really know how to make the most out of those blast packs and get that in a general sense. And they're not going to be doing the things where like you're taking a gunfight and they throw it down to move someone and then can take the shot. I don't think that's going to happen. But nonetheless, she is still a fantastic agent. She just isn't as good as Jett. She can't do the things that Jett can do with an AWP. She can't do the things that Jett can do in terms of like taking space as safely as possible. She can't be as self-sufficient. She has to ask for help for other stuff. But she is still a very good agent. Better than Neon. 1,000 times better than Yoru. Yeah, good stuff. Reyna. For low rank, general low rank players. C tier. Why? She has no util. Her leer is horrendous. It can get shot out by like one bullet. It is the worst. It's not even a blind, is it? It's just an ability that does nothing, right? And my problem with anything with being self sufficient, right? Everyone above, I mean, yeah, even Neon, right? Everyone here, even if you're not getting kills, you can do something for your team, right? You can wall, you can stun. Intel for days. Oh, slows. Okay, maybe he can't do as much, but he can still get slows. All right, he can get slows. That's one thing. Maybe Chamber's not that, but maybe it's making me now rethink Chamber. But anyway, we're moving on. Obviously, just that's what he does is just literally just help people. So it's no worry about that. Obviously, controllers, smokes, all that sort of stuff. Flank watch, intel, smokes, blinds. Info with boom bot, area denial, flashes, so on. You get my point. If she doesn't get kills, she has nothing. Nothing. Um, I understand why people use her. She's a pub stomp, aficionado. She can absolutely destroy lower rank players. Like if you're smurfing, it's the character to probably go for, especially if you've got better mechanics than the rank that you're currently in. But if you are the general population, if you are currently playing this game and thinking I want to start improving now, do not start playing Reyna. I get the desire to. Don't do it. It isn't going to help you. I think she becomes a bit of a crutch for a lot of players, and then ultimately when people then lock Reyna and you can't play Reyna, you're then stuck going, oh, I can't play if I don't get like a full heal and then overheal off of one ability when I get a kill or a chunky assist, or I can't dismiss immediately out of something. It becomes a massive crutch to people. And again, even if you're not doing well, every other character in the game will provide you some value. She will not. Yeah, I don't rate Reyna. I mean, I understand why she's good, and if you want to just pub stomp, yeah, fantastic. But again, you still need to be getting the kills, and if you're not, you're worthless. Skye, S plus. She is a fantastic initiator. Initiators obviously looked at, I'd say there's sort of two different types of initiators. You have sort of your flash entry assistance initiators. I mean, they're all entry assistants, but your flash operators and then your intel operators. She is almost like what Yoru is to the duelist. She covers both. She can obviously flash. She can use her little cabbages to try and like tell you where enemies are, and you can follow them in if you're an entry. And then she's obviously got the dog as well to get you info, and that's the point. You know, the flashes give you info as well. The cabbages give you info. The dog gives you info, and on top of that, she then does Sage's job of healing, but then she can heal the entire fucking team. Right? Sage can heal 2 people. Obviously, she can't heal herself, but stop being selfish. Don't think about you. Think about the team in this scenario when you're thinking about being a healer. Because if you are thinking about being a healer, 1, that isn't actually a specific role in Valorant, and 2, you don't need to think about you then. But yeah, the other abilities, absolutely fantastic. Pop Flash obviously isn't nearly as good as it used to be, obviously because it got nerfed, but you still can find ways to do a semi-Pop Flash and get the full value from it. And the dog is one of the best abilities in the game. It's just fantastic. So yeah, S+, there's no doubt about it. Best out of like her, Breach, KO for that role. Absolutely incredible. Sova, S+, the best intel gatherer in the game. You know, Recon Dart is fantastic at gathering intel. And then the Owl Drone is the single best bit of kit, maybe tied with Skye's dog for clearing sites safely. You can literally just run it down, check all your corners, have someone follow it in, and even if you don't see anyone, you've cleared stuff. And if you do see someone, you get wall hacks. How can you argue against that? It's incredible. Obviously, shock darts, and this is where he probably comes in massive. And I think that this is where he potentially is undervalued in lower play. Is when this character here, when these characters here, and actually him as well, where they have to put utility down on the floor, become more prevalent. He becomes absolutely necessary. Take Ascent, for example. I think it's B. I'm probably getting it wrong. The one with Boathouse, the one where Killjoy normally sets up. You know what I'm talking about. Lane, she'll put down a bot. She maybe puts a nanobot down. You get close up to that wall on main. You look up to where that window is. Shock dart down, bounce into lane. It destroys it, right? That's immediately nullified that big effect, right? So fantastic at doing that. That's not even using the shock darts to do things like post plant or clear people out of little cubbies or whatever. Fantastic abilities. Even though I know they've been nerfed, they're not as good as they used to be, but it's still a fantastic ability. And then Hunter's Fury is probably the best post plant ult in the game, just because it's been done from so far away. It can obviously stop Killjoy ults, which very few abilities can now do. Just him can do that now in terms of their actual ults. And yeah, you can do it from such safety and still manage to get good results out of it. So Sova, S+. And the last but not least, my favourite, but she's not going to go S+, which I'm a little bit upset about. She is going to go A. And she is on the bottom end of A for sure. Because ultimately, she's not as versatile as Brim. She's not as versatile as Omen. Similar problems with Harbour in that once you put that wall down, that's it. It's very telegraphed. It's quite obvious where you're going. You can't really throw. You can throw a fake, but then you've got no smokes. If you're running a dual controller, fantastic. She plays like a pseudo, almost like a pseudo sentinel on defense in some instances, which is really, really good. And obviously, I will swear by the fact that the Viper's Pit is one of the most oppressive ults to come try and attack into. Probably only second to second and third to potentially Breach and Killjoy. But as a controller, looking at her as a controller, she does not have the versatility that the other two do above her. She doesn't have that on the fly play that the others do. It's just not as good as the other guys there. In the controller role. But yeah, so this is my tier list. This is what I think. I think that in reality, your team comp should have these 5 almost every single game. In my opinion, you don't need 2 duelists. You play with 1. you know, on attack, obviously 2 duelists thrive, but then on defense, it feels wasteful because you're taking up utility and a place where someone else could be doing it. You know, on a defense, I'd much rather have my defense look like that 5 than I would, you know, that 5 or that 5. And then on attack, obviously, as good as it would be, I think in my eyes, you've got to take Phoenix out. But I know that some people prefer to play someone like a Reyna, or maybe potentially. I mean, again, if you're playing the Reyna, I think you drop Reyna, you play Phoenix, you play that role. And if you think you've got enough smokes and you don't need to take a huge amount of space, and you just want to take those gunfights early on, I think Phoenix is your man. You drop Jett out, but I think these are the top guys. These are going to be the guys that get you the most wins. I think if you can perfect playing 1 or 2 of these, just so you've got a bit of versatility to go into the games in case one of them gets picked, or you don't want to double up on a specific role, you are gonna have a very easy time climbing those ranks, getting out of bronze, getting out of silver, getting out of gold, and pushing on to where you want to be. So this is my tier list. Let me know what you think. I'm sure I'm going to get some complaints about definitely Phoenix, definitely Sage, definitely Reyna. But if you can give me a legitimate reason in the comments, then hey, maybe I'll do a video taking it down and telling you why you're right and I'm wrong. But yeah, if you can't, well, still if you can't, do it. I want to see what people say. But yeah, this is my tier list. If you watched it this far, I appreciate you guys. I hope it actually gives you some effect. And anyway, let me know how you get on. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.